Hey, Lions Nation! We're back with another exclusive video bringing you all the latest news about our beloved Detroit Lions. Before we get started, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss anything about the team now. Let's get into the news. The NFL didn't just shake when the news hit, it convulsed. Like a living beast reacting to a sudden wound, phones vibrated simultaneously across the country. Sports bars froze mid-sentence. Analysts sat stunned with their mouths half open as ESPN unleashed the most violent headline of the offseason. T.J. Watt signs with the Detroit Lions. A defensive revolution begins now. The alert wasn't merely delivered, it detonated. It felt like the league itself had been punched in the chest. T.J. Watt, the defensive juggernaut, the relentless pass-rushing nightmare, the face of Pittsburgh's defensive identity, had left the Steelers and was marching straight into Ford Field wearing Honolulu blue. It was the kind of storyline fans joked about on Reddit for years. The kind of fantasy move that Madden players made for fun, but now it was real, brutally, terrifyingly real. Inside the Lions facility, the reaction wasn't loud. It wasn't celebratory. It was silent, the kind of silence that falls right before the first drop of a storm. Coaches stared at their tablets in disbelief. Players stopped mid-rep, turning toward the scoreboard as the breaking news scrolled across the massive LED display. Even Dan Campbell, the human symbol of chaos and intensity, froze for 3 full seconds, long enough for staffers nearby to realize the gravity of the moment. And then, as the shock melted into understanding, the room didn't erupt, it shifted. Like the foundation itself had tilted, Detroit didn't just make a move, Detroit declared war. T.J. Watt wasn't merely a superstar, he was a culture, a force. A plague upon quarterbacks, a living hurricane made of muscle, instinct, and violence. He played the game with a rage so controlled it felt surgical. A predator stalking an already injured prey. His pursuit angles were nightmares, his timing was divine, his aggression was scripture. And now he was joining a Lions defense that had long been searching for its final piece. A defense full of hungry young talent, chaos-addicted linebackers, and a defensive coordinator who treated blitz packages like poetry. What they lacked was a spear, a legend, a monster. In Watt, they found all three across the NFL. Panic spread. Offensive coordinators immediately scheduled emergency film sessions. Quarterbacks texted their agents about line upgrades. Rookie linemen stared at their tablets, replaying Watt highlights. With the dread of students realizing a surprise exam just entered the room, this changes everything. One anonymous NFC coach whispered to a reporter, Detroit was dangerous before, now they're apocalyptic. And yet, somehow, the public didn't know the half of it, because behind the scenes, Detroit had been plotting. Quietly, patiently, like a serpent waiting in tall grass. Insiders revealed that Campbell had been obsessed with Watt for years, not as a player, but as an energy, a psychological force. He admired Watt's fury, his relentlessness, his refusal to take a single play off. He's the only guy who plays angrier than me, Campbell once joked in an interview. Privately, he meant it. Weeks before the signing, subtle hints began forming inside Allen Park. Late-night meetings, unusual visits from Cap specialists, scouts pulling Steelers film from years past, a mysterious closed-door session involving the GM, ownership, and a manila folder labeled simply W9. And yet no one outside the inner circle could guess what Detroit was constructing. They were already contenders, hungry, violent, on the rise. But Campbell and Sheila Ford Hamp wanted more than contention. They wanted inevitability. They wanted fear. Watt provided fear in abundance. When the deal became official, reporters scrambled for details. How much money? How many years? Who initiated contact? But the more they dug, the stranger it became. Watt's camp reportedly chose Detroit, not the other way around. He wanted the culture, the grit, the violence, the chance to build a legacy in a city that worshipped effort, pain, and resurrection. And when Watt arrived for his first unofficial walkthrough at Ford Field, a witness claimed the stadium lights flickered as if the building itself sensed something powerful had entered. By nightfall, Detroit fans had already gathered outside the arena. They lit smoke flares. They chanted his name. They held homemade signs reading Watt the Destroyer, Detroit Defense Reborn, Super Bowl or nothing. The noise echoed through the empty streets, a roar rising from the heart of a city reborn. From decades of disappointment, Detroit wasn't dreaming anymore. Detroit was expecting, demanding, preparing, because with Watt, everything shifted. The identity, the stakes, the destiny. And across the NFL, one truth became chillingly clear. Detroit didn't just sign TJ Watt. They unleashed something the league is not equipped to survive. Before we move on, take a second to drop a like and subscribe. That way, you'll stay up to date with every exclusive Lions update. And you'll even have a chance to win an official Detroit Lions jersey. Let's keep going. But the darker truth, the one that wouldn't leak until much later, began long before the headline. It started in a room deep beneath the Lions training complex. A room with concrete walls, no windows, and a table that had seen more strategy than sunlight. This was where Detroit planned their revolutions, where their most ruthless decisions were forged, where franchise history was rewritten in whispers and curses. It was here that Campbell met with Sheila Ford-Hamp and defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn 3 weeks before the signing. No scouts, no analysts, no assistants, just 3 leaders staring at the future of their franchise. Campbell opened the meeting with a single question: what would we do with a god? The room fell into silence. Sheila leaned forward, Glenn steepled his fingers, and Campbell, eyes burning with something between madness and prophecy, pressed play on a film reel that showed TJ Watt dismantling offensive lines, as if he were tearing through paper, strip sacks, bull rushes, ghost moves, stunts that shattered pocket structure. Like glass, this, Campbell growled, is the identity we're missing. Detroit already had hunger. They had toughness, they had a rising roster. But what they lacked was inevitability. A force so dominant it changed opposing game plans before the ball was even snapped. Sheila Ford-Hamp didn't speak until the film ended. Then she delivered a sentence that would define the next month of Detroit's existence. If this is who we need to win, then we go get him. No matter the cost. That phrase, no matter the cost, became the Lions' internal motto as they executed one of the most secretive recruitment operations in modern NFL history. Their strategy was a labyrinth: contact intermediaries, anonymous meetings, clauses buried in unrelated contract restructures, placeholder budgets hidden under generic line items. Detroit didn't negotiate. Detroit constructed a trap made of opportunity and desire, waiting for the exact moment Pittsburgh faltered, and that moment came. Tensions between Watt and the Steelers' front office had simmered for months. Philosophical disagreements, unclear long-term planning, a dissatisfaction with how the roster was evolving. Detroit knew. Detroit waited. Detroit sharpened their knives. And when Pittsburgh hesitated, even for a second, Detroit struck fast, silent, merciless. Sources revealed that Watt himself initiated the final step at 2:13 a.m. He reportedly sent a private message to Detroit's GM containing only 4 words: "Let's finish this quietly." From that moment, Detroit moved like assassins. Papers were drawn, contracts rewritten, legal teams placed on standby. Campbell didn't sleep for 48 hours, pacing the facility like a wolf waiting for the sun. When the ink finally dried, when Watt officially became a Lion, Campbell didn't cheer, he didn't erupt, he simply whispered, "Now we hunt." The effects inside the facility were immediate and violent. Defensive players walked differently, shoulders squared, steps heavier, eyes burning with new purpose. Rookie pass rushers stared at Watt like he was mythology made real. Linebackers gathered around him, absorbing his presence like radiation. Even veterans felt their pride swell. Playing beside Watt wasn't just an opportunity, it was validation. Aaron Glenn redesigned his entire defensive scheme overnight. Blitz packages became nuclear. Coverage shells transformed. Pre-snap disguises multiplied. Reporters later described Detroit's defense as a living organism evolving faster than opponents could adapt. And Watt, he practiced with a fury that left teammates shaken. During his first padded practice, he broke through double teams like they were illusions. He knocked a 315-pound lineman flat on his back with a move so violent the entire field went silent. Campbell blew his whistle once, nodded, and muttered, "That's why he's here." But the biggest change, the one that terrified the league, wasn't physical, it was psychological. Detroit believed now, not hoped, not dreamed, believed. Super Bowl, it wasn't a fantasy anymore, it was a directive. When Watt spoke to the team for the first time, he didn't deliver a speech. He didn't talk about legacy or history or emotion. He simply said, "I didn't come here to compete, I came here to finish." The room erupted. Helmets slammed together. Players roared with the fury of men reborn. Campbell grinned like a man watching destiny unfold exactly as he planned. Outside Ford Field, the city felt it too. Fans crowded the stadium gates at midnight, chanting Watt's name into the cold Michigan air. Someone painted a mural reading, "Detroit, City of Hunters." Even rival fan bases couldn't deny it. Detroit had become something dark, something dangerous, something inevitable. And as the first official practice with Watt concluded, as sweat dripped from face masks and the sun dipped behind the Ford Field roof, one chilling truth crystallized across the NFL: the Lions aren't building a contender. They're building a dynasty forged in violence. And TJ Watt is the spear that will lead them into war. We bring you the latest Lions news every single day, so make sure you're subscribed. Hit that like button and turn on notifications so you don't miss a thing. And of course, drop a comment below with your thoughts on today's news. Your voice makes a difference for Lions Nation. See you in the next video.